But what Windows did you use when you built that aircraft?
You're about to see what it looks like when an expert commits the 5 most common fatal errors of debating.
I can't tell you, it's classified.
Yeah, classified because the government have...
What a load of baloney.
Nah, she's brainwashed.
She is brainwashed.
There it is, a scientist with genuine expertise, real credentials, and the objectively correct position, reduced to spluttering dismissals, while 2 guys who don't even believe what they're saying talk about her as if she's not in the room.
No, I'm not actually wearing glasses, you are.
I'll take them off. You can look me in the eye then.
Why hello my fellow apes, I hope you are well. Today we're going to examine something painful. What happens when someone who should win a debate walks into a trap, falls for every trick, and hands their opponent a complete victory without that opponent ever having to defend a single claim?
I certainly haven't been brainwashed. I mean, I've actually built an aircraft.
But what Windows did you use when you built that aircraft?
I can't tell you, it's classified.
More precisely, we're going to be looking at a video from Niko Omilana's channel, NDL, where he's rage baiting 10 scientists by pretending to be a flat earther.
I'm not disclosing my name on the internet. All I will say is the earth is flat and I'm a flat scientist.
And I want to be clear, Niko doesn't believe any of this. He's trolling, he's performing. He knows that the earth is a sphere.
I will be the best debater and no one can convince me otherwise.
But that's what makes this so instructive, because even against a bad faith opponent with an indefensible position, the scientists still lose. We're going to focus on one of those scientists, Joan. She's ex-military, ex-NATO, and someone who's actually built aircraft, a fascinating dinner guest for sure. On paper, she should wipe the floor with these guys. In practice, though, she walks into the same traps over and over, abandons what works in the moment it starts working, and ends up insulting their hats while they declare victory.
Get a life, mate. Get a new hat while you're at it.
They're insulting us.
But here's the thing. What happens to her often happens to anyone who assumes that truth can win on its own merit. So strap in while we dissect how being right isn't enough, and the 5 critical mistakes that will make you lose arguments you should easily win.
The first point is the earth is flat. All right.
I'm Joan, an ex-military officer, an ex-civil servant, having worked for NATO, and I can assure you that having been in the cockpit of a plane, that I have seen curvature.
And straight away, we run headfirst into mistake number 1, accepting the burden of proof. And that is exactly why the best move here is to ask him for his best evidence, to keep the burden of proof where it belongs. So what exactly is this burden of proof? Simply put, if you're the one making the claim, you have to provide the evidence. You don't get to assert something and then demand that everyone else disprove it. That is called shifting the burden of proof. It's a well-known fallacy. To keep things conspiratorial, consider the argument that politicians are controlled by lizard people. You can't prove that they're not, as if a lack of counter-evidence is itself somehow evidence. It's not. This just flips the burden onto whoever they're talking to.
You're a racist against lizards! Racist! Racist!
Speaking of things that make absolutely no sense, the internet was sold to us as a world wide web, yet in reality it is fractured by invisible digital borders. But why should your physical location dictate what information or art you have access to? It shouldn't. Take Sons of Anarchy. It's a modern classic, but if you try to watch this in the UK right now, it doesn't exist, at least not on Netflix. You pay for the same internet and the same streaming services as someone in the US, in this case, Netflix, but you get half the content. That is where private internet access corrects the imbalance. With 2 clicks, I can switch my virtual location to the US, and suddenly the digital borders dissolve, and Jack's teller is back on my screen. But private internet access isn't just about unlocking content, it's about reclaiming your privacy. Private internet access wraps your connection in an encrypted tunnel. This means that your ISP can't build a profile on you to sell to advertisers, and hackers on public Wi-Fi can't scrape your data. Basically, you become a ghost in the machine. And unlike other VPNs that just claim to be private, private internet access provides evidence. Their no-log policy has been proven in court multiple times and independently audited by Deloitte. They don't just promise privacy, they've engineered their system so they literally cannot spy on you. One subscription covers unlimited devices. Yes, phones, laptops, TV, the works. So do yourself the favor and stop letting geography limit your experience. Right now, get an exclusive 83% discount. That's just $2.03 a month, plus 4 extra months completely free. Go to piavpn.com/rationalityrules. The link is in the description. Get the full internet that you're paying for. Thanks.
Having been in the cockpit of a plane that I have seen the curvature.
Here's how Joan falls into the same trap that good faith people do all the time. Instead of keeping the responsibility on Niko, the person claiming the Earth is flat, she immediately starts offering a pro-spherical argument, shifting the burden of proof onto herself. And unfortunately, she does so in quite possibly the worst way. This is the moment to say, you're claiming the Earth is flat. What's your best evidence? That would have forced Niko to defend a position that he can't actually defend. But instead of asking Niko to explain his reasoning or provide evidence, she substitutes her credentials for an actual argument. And that, my friends, is mistake number 2, making yourself the evidence.
I'm Joan, an ex-military officer, an ex-civil servant, having worked for NATO.
She's stacking qualifications like shields before even addressing the claim, constituting an appeal to authority, when someone claims something is true because the authority said it, not because of the actual evidence or logic. Think of the people that cite batshit Bobby, RFK Jr., to argue that Tylenol causes autism. Yes, he is somehow the health secretary of the United States, responsible for informing the public on health. But his title is not proof. Credentials are not an argument. They're a shortcut designed to end debate rather than to engage with it. Worse still, Joan is citing herself as the authority, which, alongside her dismissive attitude, which you're going to see more of, can come across as arrogant. Now, to be clear, in a peer-reviewed paper or a scientific conference, this is absolutely fine. It's shorthand for expertise. But in an adversarial debate, especially one of a conspiratorial nature, it's fatal. She is so sure of her position that she upfronts her institutional affiliations and personal testimony as though they settle the matter, empowering her line.
And I can assure you that having been in the cockpit of a plane that I have seen the curvature.
Which becomes her knockout punch, except it's not. In the absolute best case, this is anecdotal evidence, using personal testimony as evidence instead of reliable and falsifiable data. Now, against a good faith opponent seeking truth, Joan's credentials might carry weight as corroborating evidence. But against someone arguing in bad faith, like our boy Niko, someone trolling for entertainment, it just provides an easier target. You see, Joan's made herself the argument. So now, instead of defending a scientific claim about planetary geometry, she's defending her credibility. Due to these two blunders, Niko doesn't have to argue about physics or provide counter-evidence. He just has to undermine Joan. And guess what? One person with perceived biases and institutional ties is infinitely easier to attack than an entire body of empirical evidence. So Joan has handed Niko exactly what he needs to keep the performance going. Now, the discussion can spiral into whether Joan's testimony is reliable, whether NATO has reasons to lie, whether planes fly high enough to see curvature. Anywhere except the claim Niko is meant to be defending. The lesson is this: make yourself the target and you make yourself the battleground.
I have seen the curvature.
Yeah, through tinted windows,
No,
that's
not
what
through
you saw.
no, certainly not through tinted windows. Perhaps you're using tinted glasses yourself.
Niko introduces an ad hoc rescue, when someone adds a special or improvised explanation purely to protect their belief from being falsified. Consider the many psychics who claim to be able to read minds, yet fail every controlled test. They argue that their powers don't work when skeptics are watching, thereby explaining away the problem. This is a very common tactic from flat earthers. Whenever someone mentions seeing curvature from a high altitude, the flat earther doesn't engage with the observation, they explain it away. The window was curved, the glass was tinted, the angle was wrong, your eyes were fooled. Anything except the possibility that the Earth might actually be curved. By blaming the window, they can dismiss any eyewitness accounts outright, which, in this case, is Joan's. In response, Joan attempts to defend the credibility of direct observation with a denial.
No,
That's
not
what
through
you saw.
no, certainly not through tinted windows.
But notice what happened here. she's taken the bait. She is defending the tool instead of pressing Niko on his claim. This is mistake number 1 all over again. Remember, he is the one claiming that windows are tinted. The burden is on him to prove it.
Yeah, through tinted windows.
She should be asking, what specific evidence do you have that these windows distort the horizon? Or, how exactly does a flat window create a perfect curve? But instead, she assumes the burden, and her repetition signals defensiveness. She's protesting too much, which ironically makes the tinted window riposte sound more plausible to an audience primed for spectacle and skepticism. So, instead of holding her ground on planetary geometry, she's now debating the optical properties of aircraft windows. And here's where it gets worse.
Perhaps you're using tinted glasses yourself.
Her argument amounts to an ad hominem when someone attacks the person instead of addressing the argument. Rather than deal with the claim, Joan says that Niko is the one with the distorted vision. Unfortunately, this is going to be a recurring pattern, Joan deteriorating into personal attacks whenever she loses her footing. Now, just for the record, aircraft windows do create minor optical distortion, but nowhere near enough to conjure a curved planet out of a flat one. And typical window distortion produces local warping near the edges of the frame, not a horizon-wide arc. That said, you do need sufficient altitude to see the actual curve. Most commercial jets cruise at around 35,000 feet, where the curvature is subtle. At 50,000 feet and above, the domain of high-altitude reconnaissance and some military aircraft, it becomes unmistakable. Joan's NATO background makes it plausible that she's flown at these altitudes, but she never specifies, which leaves her claim vague enough to be easily dismissed.
Perhaps you're using tinted glasses yourself.
No, I'm not actually wearing glasses, you are.
I'll take them off. You can look in the eye then.
All I'm going to say is, when you look out the window of a plane, those are put there obviously by the government, they're government certified windows. So you have been obviously brainwashed.
This sequence reveals the escalation pattern of conspiratorial rhetoric. Niko has adopted the conspiracy mindset well. You've got to give him that.
I will be the best debater and no one can convince me otherwise.
He started small, questioning the instrument.
Yeah, through tinted windows.
Then widened the suspicion to an entire system.
They're government certified windows.
And finally, personalized it, declaring Joan brainwashed.
So you have been obviously brainwashed.
Each step makes the previous claim feel more plausible by comparison, until the final leap, attacking the opponent's sanity, feels like the claim that needs to be addressed, not the others. This is why conspiratorial rhetoric is so effective. Once you start defending yourself inside the conspiracy narrative, you've already surrendered the ability to challenge its logic. Recall, you can't win a rigged game, so you should reject the frame entirely. Instead, demand answers. How, precisely, is the government interfering with glass worldwide? Keep the burden of proof on Niko, where he's at his weakest. Don't surrender to his line of attack. But, unfortunately, that is not what happens here.
So you have been obviously brainwashed.
I certainly haven't been brainwashed. I mean, I've actually built an aircraft.
Joan takes the bait, engaging with the suspicion rather than rejecting the frame. She is now defending her eyesight, her tools, her sanity, and as the debate shifts to whether she can be trusted, the trap is closed. The Earth is no longer on trial here. She is, and that frame is unwinnable. Frustrated, Joan doubles down on credential stacking.
I've actually built an aircraft.
And this shows that she still believes that appealing to her own authority can rescue her. But inside a conspiratorial frame, every new credential becomes further evidence that she's part of the system. The more expertise she demonstrates, the deeper her complicity. Everything she offers to strengthen her credibility simply gives the conspiratorial narrative more material to work with. And that's the trap, the reason that experts lose to trolls over and over. They assume that they're participating in a truth-seeking exchange. They're not. The conspiratorial escalator isn't designed to arrive anywhere. Its purpose is to destabilize the opponent, not to defend a position.
I certainly haven't been brainwashed. I mean, I've actually built an aircraft.
But what windows did you use when you built that aircraft?
I can't tell you, it's classified.
Oh boy, this moment is absolutely catastrophic for Joan. By claiming that it's classified, she's saying that she has the proof, but can't share it. In a normal professional setting, that signals expertise and responsibility. But inside a conspiratorial frame, disaster.
I can't tell you, it's classified.
Whether she has information or not is now irrelevant. To the listener, she's invoked the "my girlfriend goes to another school" defense, that she's tied to hidden government operations, shielding privileged information from ordinary people. What she intended as credibility becomes evidence of complicity, feeding the conspiratorial narrative rather than challenging it, handing Niko everything he needs to paint her as an insider protecting secrets rather than a scientist defending truth.
What windows did you use when you built that aircraft?
I can't tell you, it's classified.
Yeah, classified because the government have...
What's a load of baloney?
Nah, she's brainwashed.
She is brainwashed.
Notice the complete power reversal happening here. Joan entered this exchange as the presumed authority, confidently leading with "I can assure you."
And I can assure you that having been in the cockpit of a plane, that I have seen the curvature.
But within seconds, she's reacting emotionally while Niko and Kenny speak about her in the third person, as if she's not even in the room.
Nah, she's brainwashed.
She is brainwashed.
This is the predictable weakness of relying on authority rather than argument. The moment that authority is challenged, there's nothing underneath it to stabilize the position. Her interjection off
What's a load of baloney?
signals total loss of control. Niko doesn't want or need evidence, he just needs to deny anything that Joan presents. And this constant dismissal has clearly unsettled her, leading her to impulsively dismiss Niko's response rather than engage with it. This is almost always a losing move unless you've already established the facts, the logic, and the frame. Joan hasn't done that work, so when she lashes out, it reads as frustration, not strength, and her loss of composure invites Kenny and Niko to pile on, reinforcing the sense that she's losing control of the exchange.
Nah, she's brainwashed.
She is brainwashed.
I'm certainly not
And
brainwashed.
I do
and I
feel...
can shoot you down straight away.
Joan is still trapped where they want her. Her denial keeps her anchored to the accusation instead of moving the conversation back to substance.
And I can shoot you down straight away.
How could you shoot us down?
Well, I can shoot you down with proof that Flat Earthers actually conducted an experiment, spending something like $20,000
Yeah.
to try and defy rotation. And when those results came in, those figures were something like 15 degrees per hour.
Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Joan is referring to the ring laser gyroscope test shown in the 2018 documentary Behind the Curve. Flat Earth advocates bought a high-precision gyroscope, around $20,000, expecting it to show zero drift, the number expected if the Earth were stationary. Instead, it recorded a drift of 15 degrees per hour, exactly what you would predict from a rotating planet. 360 degrees divided by 24 hours equals 15 degrees. The moment is on camera, with the flat earther Bob Knodel admitting that this is kind of a problem.
Obviously, we were taken aback by that. Wow, that's kind of a problem, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
And the evidence itself is excellent.
A 15 degree per hour drift.
Thanks, Bob.
It's a good reference, but this is where Joan's third major mistake emerges, likely born from her familiarity with academia: excessive hedging. When someone uses cautious, non-committal, or qualifying language to escape accountability. We use it constantly. To soften disagreement, someone might say, "I could be wrong, but I don't think that's accurate." And it's something that scientists use frequently to avoid overstating a claim. You'll hear things like, "the data appears to suggest a connection," when, actually, the connection is damn near 1-for-1. Now, this is completely normal and indeed responsible in published works, where new information might emerge to clarify or correct the findings. Indeed, contrary to popular belief, scientists tend to be excessively humble. But to hedge like this in a debate format, well, that uncertainty in delivery undermines conviction. Joan does exactly this. Her phrasing,
spending something like $20,000, those figures were something like 15 degrees per hour.
weaken what should be her strongest point. The hedging makes rock-solid evidence sound tentative. Compounding the excessive hedging is the fourth major mistake, and it's one that scientists make all the time. This one is huge, and it is deeply underappreciated. Notice that Joan never translates the evidence for a general audience. The numbers she cites have no intuitive meaning unless the listener already understands what the device measures, what a flat Earth model would predict, and why 15 degrees per hour is significant. Without that context, the explanation feels empty and disconnected from anything tangible. A broader expert communication failure, where accuracy comes without accessibility. You see, Evidence persuades only when people understand both what it shows and why it matters. So Joan names an experiment without giving listeners the mental model for interpreting it, offering the facts, but not the bridge that makes those facts meaningful. And in debates with non-experts, or trolls posing as them, that guarantees the point won't land.
Those figures were something like 15 degrees per hour.
I respect
And it proved
I respect
rotation.
you coming in with false facts and falsehoods coming in here, because the truth is, when you look out at the earth, it's flat. That's what you see. When you go up into the sky and you look out the window, you will see a curve, maybe a slight curve, because of the windows.
Niko's "I respect you" is an insult disguised as civility move, functioning like no offence, but immediately followed by a dismissal. By pairing the faux courtesy with false facts and falsehoods, he gives himself the appearance of politeness while directly attacking Joan, a strike wrapped in civility, designed to make him sound reasonable while framing everything that she said as unreliable.
I respect
Rotation.
you coming in with false facts and falsehoods coming in here.
Picture someone saying, "I admire your confidence, but you're completely wrong about everything." The compliment is a vehicle for the insult, not a genuine acknowledgement. Niko then shifts the focus to one of the Flat Earth movement's strongest rhetorical positions: everyday ground level appearance.
Because the truth is, when you look out at the earth, it's flat. That's what you see.
It's a smart move. By anchoring the debate here, he pulls the discussion away from high altitude observation, where Joan has an advantage, and into the domain of ordinary human perception. And to be fair, the Earth does look flat from the ground. But that isn't proof of its shape, it's a function of its size. Think of a basketball. To a human, it's clearly round. But to a microbe living on the surface, that rubber looks like an endless flat plane. Flat Earthers rely on this limit of human vision. They rely on the fact that you're too small to see the curve of something so big. But this is a trick of perspective. Rhetorically, though, this works for Niko. It gives him the temporary high ground because he is validating what the audience sees with their own eyes. He's appealing to their daily experience, which is far more powerful of an anchor than scientific instruments that most people have never seen, much less understand.
When you go up into the sky and you look out the window, you will see a curve, maybe a slight curve, because of the windows.
As for this part of Niko's response, it's doing two things simultaneously. First, he concedes just enough of Joan's point to sound reasonable, maybe a slight curve, then immediately attributes the cause away from Earth's geometry and onto the aircraft windows themselves.
Because of the windows.
This lets him appear to agree with the observation while stripping it of its evidential power. The curve is no longer something that needs explaining by physics, it's rebranded as a visual trick. And here's what it accomplishes. He's neutralized her strongest piece of intuitive evidence without ever having to disprove it. This is an ad hoc rescue once again. Flat Earthers appeal to this all the time. When someone reports seeing a curved horizon, the response is never engagement. It's dismissal through invention. The window was curved, the lens was a fisheye, the footage was CGI. Anything except the possibility that the Earth might actually be round. Now, this particular rescue persists because people are familiar with fisheye distortion from GoPros and action cameras. Niko is banking on that familiarity, hoping that viewers will mistakenly generalize that camera effect to the human eye looking through a cabin window. The argument feels intuitive to anyone who's seen fisheye warping, but the inference remains completely incorrect. Again, that's not what happens from aircraft windows. At most, you see a local warping near the edges of the frame, not a horizon-wide arc. This is also true when pressing flat cameras against the window, when photographing from planes outside of the windows, and when using high-altitude balloons and satellites. If his window distortion claim held up, the curve's shape and degree would vary wildly with equipment and angle. Instead, it consistently matches the predictions for a spherical Earth, which is exactly what we'd expect to see if the curvature is real.
You will see a curve, maybe a slight curve, because of the windows which you're looking at.
Oh, what a load of baloney. Have you seen
Joan is, understandably, running out of the little patience she had. I don't blame her. Flat Earth arguments are infuriating. But this is a major loss in a debate.
Oh, what a load of baloney. Have you seen
It's not baloney, it's just the facts. And
let
this
me
is the
finish.
thing.
Niko's calm delivery carries more weight than the claim itself. And as Joan begins to flail, he continues to control the debate, talking over her and forcing his angle to keep her on the back foot. As a result, she slips further into reactive dismissal while offering no argument, repeating the same exclamation.
It's not baloney, it's just the facts. And
Let
this
me
is the
finish.
thing.
Let me finish.
I was just trying to start my point, but I will
We
let
haven't
you...
got a point.
The word start is doing deliberate work here. Niko wasn't actually presenting a substantive argument. He was using a set-up phrase to pretend that he had one in progress. By claiming that he was starting a point, he casts himself as the reasonable participant who was interrupted mid-thought, even though he had already fully delivered his claim about window distortion. It's clever. The strategy allows him to hold the conversational floor and prepare his next move, while making Joan look impatient and irrational for cutting him off. And once he's secured that perceived high ground, he moved to the next tactic.
I was just trying to start my point, but I will
We haven't
let
got
you...
a
This is false generosity, depicting Niko as the benevolent party granting Joan permission to speak, a quiet power move that reverses the authority dynamic further. And as for Joan's response,
But I will
We haven't
let
got
you...
a point.
she misses the structure completely. She's addressing content he hasn't provided. And because he's only claiming that he's been starting a point, her dismissal gives him an easy escape. He can always imply that his argument simply wasn't reached yet. So her line, intended as a takedown, lands weakly because it engages with a structure he never committed to in the first place. More damaging still, she's demonstrating to everyone watching that she isn't interested in even hearing what he has to say, which only furthers the caricature of her being a closed-minded elitist.
I was just trying to start my point, but I will
We haven't
let
got
you...
a point.
When you start talking about building aircrafts, I'm starting to think that maybe you were sent here by the government yourself to spew their lies.
Another shift, and a devastating one. Niko deliberately drags the discussion back to Joan's earlier appeal to authority, even though that topic has been dormant for several exchanges. He does this, of course, because the window argument has already given him what he needs. He doesn't want her elaborating or regaining footing. Instead, he pivots to the ground where she is at her weakest, her reliance on her own credentials. This is a neat example of what's known as a Kafka trap, when any attempt to deny an accusation is treated as evidence of guilt. It's named after Bohemian author Franz Kafka, in whose novel, The Trial, a man is accused of crimes that are never specified, and every defense is treated as proof of guilt. Consider how this works in practice. If someone accuses you of being defensive and you deny it, your denial is framed as defensiveness, proving their point. If you stay silent, well, your silence is taken as admission. If you calmly explain yourself, your composure is suspiciously rehearsed. The accusation is designed so that every possible response strengthens it. Here's how Niko delivered his Kafka trap.
I'm starting to think that maybe you were sent here by the government yourself to spew their lies.
If Joan denies being a government plant, the denial proves that she's covering it up. If she refuses to answer, the silence proves complicity. If she argues calmly, the professionalism becomes evidence that she's trained. The accusation is designed so that every possible response strengthens the accusation. Needless to say, by accusing Joan of being a government plant, Niko strengthens the very conspiracy lens that he's been constructing from the very first exchange.
I'm starting to think that maybe you were sent here by the government yourself to spew their lies.
Mole, I'm going to get Santa to bring you a globe for Christmas, if you're a good boy.
I'll tell you one thing about globes.
Please do.
Yeah, they're made by the government, aren't they?
As well?
Yes, of course they are.
Okay.
Have you gone to space? Of course you haven't. It's
Have you?
CGI, it's fake.
Oh, what a load of balloon. We've been watching too much Star Wars.
No,
mate.
it's not. No,
Star Wars is all about space, actually.
Star Wars is all about space,
Literally,
exactly.
and
What,
that's
what a load of baloney, am I right?
In a galaxy far, far away. What?
There is no such thing as the galaxy.
There's no such thing as a galaxy.
It's not real.
Oh, come on, boys, come on.
I actually am jealous of Niko's trolling at this point. I'm just going to let you know. I want to go at this. Get me on as a fundamentalist preacher. So, the exchange derails into increasingly absurd territory. Space is CGI, galaxies aren't real, and Joan's responses follow the same exhausted pattern that we've seen throughout. She's completely done with arguing. She's just expressing disbelief that she has to be here. The same structural problems reoccur: reactive dismissal, frame loss, mounting exhaustion. But then, something new happens.
There's no such thing as a galaxy.
It's not real.
Oh, come on, boys, come on.
If I were to tell you right now that outside there is a dinosaur, you would probably believe it.
I think I'm looking at one.
That is the play. For the first time, Joan matches Niko's absurdity with her own, and the room's reaction is one of genuine laughter rather than polite chuckles. She's punctured the troll's momentum without giving him anything to grab onto. The audience laughs with her and at him. She's finally controlling the social dynamics rather than being dragged through them. This brief moment proves that Joan can win in this format, not by presenting credentials or mounting arguments, but by understanding the dynamic and optics, and thus matching the tone that she's up against.
I think I'm looking at one. So you don't believe that there were dinosaurs?
I wouldn't believe what the government tells me.
The government didn't tell you, Steven Spielberg did.
Steven Spielberg?
Yeah, Jurassic Park, you know?
Again, this is great. Joan keeps the momentum going, sticking with humour and pop culture. When Niko dodges dinosaurs with his reflexive appeal to government manipulation, she cuts him down with,
The government didn't tell you, Steven Spielberg did.
it's light, it's playful, and it lands. But notice what's actually happening beneath the joke. She's exposing a genuine weakness in his facetious position. Our knowledge of dinosaurs doesn't flow from a single government source. We know about them through films, books, museums, fossils, and children's toys, all of which trace back to paleontology, not state messaging. Joan doesn't have to switch into lecture mode to make that point. By taking the piss, she shows how ridiculous his everything is government propaganda default really is. The audience stays firmly on her side because she's using the right tool for the format. Humour that undercuts rather than feeds the absurdity.
You're all brainwashed by the government.
No, but I think you're brainwashed by baloney yourself.
And just like that, she drops the one tactic that actually worked and slides back into reactive tit for tat. The room was with her. She punctured the absurdity with humour, and she had finally got momentum. Yet, instead of riding that wave, she abandoned it. This is mistake number 5, giving up what works. Joan could have doubled down on the humour, leaned further into playful exaggeration, or tossed the accusation back with another light jab that highlighted the silliness of his position. Any of these would have kept her in control of the moment, but she didn't. And she doesn't.
But I think you're brainwashed by baloney yourself.
I'm seeing 2020 vision.
You've got no concrete
Unfortunately,
proof.
I can't say the same.
Or my glasses. Right, you've got no proof. You've got no proof. I've seen it.
Out of the tinted glass.
No.
Rest my case.
There is no tinted glass. Get a life, mate.
Jo's now defending her eyeglasses, instead of pressing Niko to defend his proposition that the Earth is flat.
Or my glasses.
She's out of arguments, out of composure, and left with only a personal insult. Proof to everyone watching that his trolling strategy has well and truly succeeded.
Get a life, mate. Get a new hat while you're at it.
She sure has, Kenny. You've won. Take a victory lap. The scientists have been reduced to name-calling. Again, you've gotta hand it to the trolls. Niko didn't need a coherent position. He only needed to keep the scientists defending themselves. Each time Joan tried to anchor the discussion in evidence, he shifted the conversation to her credibility, her motives, and her sanity. And the more she reacted, the more control he gained.
Get a life, mate.
As for Joan, she is clearly brilliant. She has served her country, built aircraft, and forgotten more physics than most of us will ever know. She is no doubt a lovely person and a genuine expert. But as a debater, she walked into every single trap. She accepted a shifted burden of proof. She made herself the evidence.
Having been in the cockpit of a plane that I have seen the curvature.
She weakened her conviction with hedging.
Spending something like $20,000.
She failed to translate for the audience.
Those figures were something like 15 degrees per hour.
And finally, she abandoned the humour that was actually working.
I think I'm looking at one.
The lesson is harsh but simple. Being intelligent is not enough. It never has been. You can have all of the facts, all of the degrees, and all of the truth on your side. But if you don't understand the foundations of debate and the optics of persuasion, you will lose to someone who is objectively demonstrably wrong every damn time.
So you don't believe that there were dinosaurs?
I wouldn't believe what the government tells me.
The government didn't tell you, Steven Spielberg did.
Anyhow, as always, thank you kindly for the view, and an extra special thank you to everyone who supports the channel, including today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. Really appreciate you all. Thank you.